now, ba 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 da da dee ba 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 da da dee ba 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 da da. Do now, think positive podcast. Ba 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 da da dee ba ba ba.
Hello, welcome back to Do Now.
Think Positive Podcast.
I am FendiPendi here. Okay, do it again. 1, 2, 3. Hello, welcome back again to Do Now.
Think Positive Podcast.
I am FendiPendi here, your creative content coach.
And my name is Philip Tan. And today we have a guest. She's a clinical psychologist. Her name is Jacqueline Fu. Jacqueline, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm Jacqueline. I'm a clinical psychologist and co-founder of We Rather Be.
All right, thank you. Jack, I have a question for you. You see, like in the marketplace, right, many people think that therapist has all the answer. They figure out everything. So when you see them, it's just like magic. I know that you, but in actual case, it's not, right? So I don't know what's your view on this?
I think we as therapists, we are bound to make mistakes because we are first a human and then a therapist. And I think this also applies to like everyday life. Every one of us actually go through life not in a linear line. So mistakes are bound to happen. But the most important thing is that we are willing to grow from it and not keep repeating history.
Right.
Okay, do you have what I agree with Philip now? Do you have those clients, like they come to your session and say, I want answers. If you don't give me answers, give me my money back.
Oh, yes. I do have clients that actually confronted. They are very confrontational. But I think in those moments is to not try to deny your mistakes, but to also learn to ground yourself in those moments because emotions can get very wired up, right, during those moments. And at the end of the day, it's to help the client understand where his frustration is coming from. Maybe it could be coming from an underlying guilt, or maybe it could be frustration from other triggers that happen throughout the day. So I think at the end, the most important thing here is to learn to ground yourself, to stay present, and to actively listen to what the client is trying to say to you, to understand where they are coming from.
Especially when they can get aggressive and how would you handle that kind of situation?
I had a client once upon a time who was pretty aggressive, and he would actually keep wanting to get my contact number. So this actually happens before. At that time, I was working with a psychiatrist. So there were a group of support there really, right? And I remember how he would try to open the therapy room door a couple of times, and people had to kind of like calmly, restrain him. But at that moment, I told myself that I have to not use the same emotion back with him. So if let's say his emotion is anger, I shouldn't be using the same emotion back him, but to stay composed and calm in that moment so that I can help to reduce that level of anger into something that is manageable. And that way we can negotiate and talk better.
Yeah. I think you are trained to do that. Okay, Jack, I just want to ask, because right now, I mean, most of our viewers are SME and young entrepreneurs. As you know, the world is going topsy-turvy in terms of supply chain, price increase, and many of the business owners, they either lost big clients, they might even lose their job, and these are, I call it grief as well. So do you think it's suitable for this business owner with some kind of very stressed out situation to visit therapy?
Yeah, of course. Therapy is actually open to all sorts of people.
Not only just for personal grief, even for business.
Okay. Because like you mentioned, the world is in chaos right now, right? And with the war that's ongoing, we never know when it will end. So that comes with unpredictability, right? People are not able to safeguard a lot of things, and that itself comes with loss. Every businesses also will come with like a certain change, and change is something that's constant in our life, right? So it could be retrenchment. It could be that maybe there will be restructuring in the roles, and all these are actually considered as a form of grief for the individual. So when that happens, sometimes emotion runs high, and they can actually come and seek support for those kind of moments.
Because myself and Fendi, we have met a lot of business owners lately. I would say the vast
need
majority.
counseling?
That
needs services.
I assume that it's good for them to visit professionals like yourself, because I can see that they vent out about their own so-called grief, stress out, they end up into alcoholism. They just drink excessively just to find to kind of mask their stress out. But I feel that might not be a wise choice. But having said that, most of them has actually turned into being negative, and being negative for too long is not very good for business. How would you like advise them to do in terms of staying positive rather than negative?
I think the idea here is that you ever heard of the pendulum bob analogy? No, but you know what a pendulum
Yes.
bob is. Okay, so you know the classic dramas and movies that we watch with hypnotherapists, and the pendulum bob goes
Yes,
right and
yes,
left,
yes.
right? That's exactly how our mind goes as well. The thought processes. On one day, you might find yourself with very critical thoughts. You might blame yourself, have self-doubt. But another day, you might also have positive thoughts, right? But the idea here is not to try to stop any of these thoughts, but to learn to ground them so that you can find a middle ground in them, and to be able to acknowledge them so that you can learn to regulate the emotions that come with them. So I think at the end of the day, it's about trying to not stop the thoughts, but to learn to acknowledge them and then learn to regulate them so that you take back that control or autonomy over your thoughts.
So the brain can be trained
Yes.
to think positive. So it's quite similar to the concept on neuroplasticity. How would you apply into this context then for business owners to keep training? Do they need a professional like you?
Actually, okay, for me personally, right, I am a creature of habit. So every day, right, I will always wake up with a certain routine. And I find that having these little habits and routine helps you to shape the way that you go on with your day. So in terms of the question that you asked just now, it doesn't really require a professional to teach you, but they can act as like a support system to you if, let's say, they do not know how to go about it. But I will always encourage my clients to always look forward to one habit or one little 5-second rule that you can start every single day to be able to go on to shape how your day will look like.
Some people they want faster result. That's why like they go for medication, they go for your session maybe 2-3 times and I need faster result, can you give me medication, things like how do you handle people like that?
I think that's a very good question, because a lot of clients, and actually as humans, we are always wanting instant gratification, right? I think we see that a lot even in companies where if you don't give me bonus, I quit, right? But in this sense, I would always think that it's best to always learn to understand where your feelings are coming from and your thoughts. And if you are the employer, to also talk and hear out what your employee is going through so that you can help them to also make sense of their situation. But if let's say they go in and come in for help and we go through all those processes with them and guide them through the support, but it still doesn't really work, then we have to also admit that our limitations, and that's where we also need to refer them to a psychiatrist for medication. So we always go through the first line of defense first before we go to the second option.
But I assume that loss of business and loss of a company or loss of partnership, the grief might not be to that intense a lot, losing a loved one. So would you agree to that statement?
I think this is very subjective.
Very subjective.
It's just like how I think there were some of my clients who asked me, do you think that me losing my pet is as bad as my friend who lost their dad, right? And this is very subjective because it's very meaningful to you. It's very unique, like a unique experience. And only you will be able to feel that experience, right? So how can you go about to say that which is more important, right?
I feel that also, like some of my people that I know, like it's just your pet that dying. This is my friend or my mother also is dying, so you cannot compare like that. I said, I agree with her.
But I think the biggest challenge for therapists like yourself, professional therapists, is holding spaces for your clients. So I believe that it's just a computer hard disk. Then you reach a stage whereby there's a breakout. So how do you manage? Do you clean up? Like it cleanse your. How do you hold it? You don't have such a big capacity to hold so many clients. You're seeing numerous clients per day, and within a week you're seeing so many clients, and you keep holding space. I don't think that's easy, right?
Trust me, it's never easy. Even until now also, I think if you ask any experienced clean site out there, they will also say the same thing. But I always keep in mind what one of my supervisors told me is that the moment you step out from that therapy room, end it at there. So leave behind whatever that happens, like what is said in that room stays in that room.
Actually, I wanted to ask that question also because you're dealing with a lot of clients there, a lot of negative sad stories and things like that. So I'm like, do you need therapy?
That's a very good question. I think I want to also help normalize that fact. I think that as therapists, it's really okay for us to also seek support. It could be in the form of our own peers in the field, right? Because they would understand better what we are going through. Or if you really feel that, like you're shy to consult your peers, you can actually seek professional help as a therapist too.
Oh, okay, that's interesting because it's not easy to hold because you have that much space to hold, and it's not easy as well. Especially you have to maintain your emotional to give professional advice. Yeah. Have you ever once that you're near breakup situation?
A few times actually, and sometimes that also make me question my own identity. Like I will be starting to think like, oh, is this profession suitable for me, or maybe I should switch profession. But I think in this moment, it's really important to regulate your own emotions. And if it helps, I always reach out to like my support system, like my business partners or like my family members, so that they will also help me to see a different angle to the situation. Because sometimes, we get too clouded with our own judgment, and that can get us to feel stuck.
Right.
How's the confidentiality between you and your client?
Okay, everything that we say in the session remains in the session. So what happens is usually at the beginning of the therapy session, they will sign a consent form that will bind the confidentiality rights of the client. Unless there's a risk of harm to the client or other people, then we'll need to break that confidentiality rights.
I was going to ask a follow-up question like, what if that client is an abused client, every time you go say that, but the client say, please don't tell, please don't tell, please don't tell. So what are you going to do?
In this sense, we have to really, we can't discount how the client is feeling, but we have to use our power and duty to remind and psychoeducate the client about their rights and their safety. And always remember that our number one cardinal rule is to not do harm to the client. So the safety of our client comes first. And that way, I think it helps to also reassure the client that they are in good hands.
Oh, so Jack, thank you for coming. We're coming to the end of the section. So please let our viewer know that to remain positive, yeah, and then we're going to ride through the storm. Yeah, so all yours.
Hi everyone, I'm Jacqueline Fu. I'm a clinical psychologist with close to 8 years of experience, and I'm a co-founder of We Rather Be. It's a mental health enterprise that I started with my co-founder Nicole. We aim to normalize mental health conversations through psychotherapy, workshop trainings, and we take pride in creating our own tools in the form of conversational card games. So these card games aim to help people to build meaningful connection with one another, to foster emotional resiliency, and also to build communication skills, a stronger bond between two persons. Today's podcast, I talk about grief, but not grief as the way that we know it. So grief can be seen or experienced in different ways. It could be in the loss of your employment, it could be in the loss of your pet or loved one, or even in a breakup, like in a relationship. And what I want to say is that the idea here is that we can train our brain to learn and relearn things. And we can also try to learn to acknowledge and regulate our emotions so that we can stay grounded and be able to move forward and move bigger around the problem that we are facing in life. If you are in need of someone to talk to, or if you simply want to chat, you can always reach out to us at support@weratherbe.com.